Hello everyone, today we'll be taking you through how to use data and insights to maximise the impact of influencer marketing and ambassador programs. In a nutshell, Freestack is an online platform that allows brands to connect with content creators and influencers within the endurance and outdoor sports sector. Currently, we have 1,768 influencers within our network with a combined reach of 27.8 million across their platform. This is just a snapshot of some of our clients that we work with. And in case you are not aware of who we are, here's a little bit of background about us. As influencer marketing started to blow up and become an ever more popular addition to marketing strategies and plans, we saw a gap in the market where companies would be using a lot of their resource to manually scroll through and track content creators' data across multiple influencer campaigns. We could see this was extremely time-consuming for advertisers and becoming a key challenge that brands were facing. So in light of that, in light of them using their workforce capacity to search, monitor and track hundreds of content creators and influencer accounts on a daily basis, we developed a tech solution to combat these challenges, to manage influencer marketing campaigns and remove the time-consuming function of manually searching across social to recruit and monitor. Our niche, which allowed us to stand out from the crowd, was our focus on the outdoor sports and endurance sector, ensuring that our pool of content creators had passion for this market and drive to produce good quality content for brands that they actually love. Now we've seen a bit of a turn in tides as many other companies also offer data capture across Instagram and other social channels. Yet only a handful of platforms, including our own, now track IG stories, which allows obviously a much more thorough evaluation of content creators' activity. In recent years, we've seen a bit of a growth in content creators using other platforms such as Strava, YouTube, Twitter. Therefore, we integrated tracking across majority of these as we realised brands need to monitor across all different channels. So moving on to our hosts for today. Before, we actually recorded this and it was actually Simon Freeman, our CEO, and Gabriel Briggs, our account manager. However, today it will just be me, Amy Chapman, as your account director at Freestack, hosting you. So, webinar agenda. So today we'll be looking at how to recruit by using insights, monitoring and reporting by maximising quantitative and qualitative data, and how to measure and overall validate the success of your campaign. So if we start by looking at how we recruit and how we would use data to our advantage in this process. So this example is just an overview 360 approach to setting up an influencer program and the stages of running a campaign. However, we will not go into much detail about this in today's webinar, but if you do want to find out more about all these stages of activating an influencer marketing campaign, please contact us via email for a more in-depth understanding. But for the purposes of this webinar, the areas of interest we will be focusing on where data has the most impact within the campaign operation is across step 1 for recruitment and step 6 for monitoring. So recruiting and monitoring are essential stages in an influencer campaign. During these stages, we need to utilize data sources the most here to get the actual setup and performance outlook of a campaign right from the get-go. So recruitment is the first stage for which we need to investigate data sources so we can evaluate content creators' suitability based on their quantitative information that the Instagram API allows us to pull. The most simple forms of data we can easily access here are followers and engagements. So using external data sources such as Hyperauditor and Upfluence, which are free tools to use, we can understand further elements such as the quality of the influencer's audience and such as the percentage of their audience, which is made up of bots. A little evaluation is also needed in terms of qualitative research, which will ensure that influencer's content is on brand and is also to the standard you would be happy to align your brand with. So if you get all of this right, you're off to a good start in efficiently setting up your campaign. Obviously, monitoring is the most obvious stage of the campaign process. So utilising data here is vital. It allows you to report on the real-time performance of your influencers and content creators, ensuring that you're on track with key performance indicators and therefore more likely to deliver on your campaign objective. So we'll go into details on KPIs and objectives now. So when recruiting and setting up a campaign, we need to choose one main campaign objective at the get-go to allow for a seamless approach when monitoring activity. This also provides visible goals to optimize towards as the campaign progresses. So working to an objective and set of KPIs means you're justifying budget being spent on influencer marketing, and forecasting a target performance ensures you hold your influencers to account on their deliverables. So majority of brand campaigns objectives are brand awareness, which aligns to a KPI of reach, impressions and engagements. Just a caveat, impressions are hard to track across Instagram and only show a number of times your content is displayed, and reach is a crude representation as it shows the potential unique users who may see your content. The second objective could be content creation. As a main objective, this obviously is takes into account the obligated volume of expected content created from your influencers and to a certain level of quality that your brand expects. So brands will often need to maximize this content across other channels, as this is a very cost-efficient way to produce creative and communications, particularly at a time like this when homegrown content is vital and you can't get a whole bunch of advertisers in a room to produce lots of pretty images. So another objective would be conversions, such as leads and sales. Obviously, this focuses on a number of lands on a brand site or conversions, such as e-commerce sales on a certain page. So influencers can implement this easily via Instagram swipe up function on stories, although they would need 10,000 followers plus in order to activate that. Brands can obviously gain insights on performance by accessing the audience data captured from affiliate add-ons such as Linktree. The most important thing to consider here is that measurement metrics should not be based just on first glance data such as followers, and now we're going to explain how vanity metrics such as just followers are not always the best indicator for forecasting campaign performance during your recruitment process. So adding to what we just spoke about, when recruiting at the start of your campaign, as mentioned before, you don't just focus on the followers and potential reach. These two Instagram anonymized examples from our platform show a good representation of both having authentic audiences, which you can pull this sort of data from Upfluence and Hyperauditor. You can see the graphs here which show the change in audience followers across a period. Yet furthermore, you can see that these platforms verify that audience are 100% real in the bottom left-hand corner of the graph. Ultimately, these influencer examples show that even with lower followers, like example A, content creators can still achieve the same actual number of engagements as someone who is deemed to be automatically having a wider reach, such as example B. This is why we focus on calculating the actual level of their engagements rather than just looking at potential reach, which is solely based on their follower numbers and more of a vanity metric. So depending on what your objective is, you need to understand the wider data across influencers' accounts to make a good call on who you'll be recruiting into the campaign over and above just their follower numbers. And by using these external tools that we spoke about, such as Hyperauditor, you can easily make a good judgment on who you incorporate into your campaign to increase the chances of overall hitting your objective. So now let's take Instagram stories into the fold of the recruitment process. So obviously, did you know that most users scrolling through their Instagram feed watch videos without sound, yet 70% of stories are watched with sound turned on? Additionally, posts containing videos receive approximately 38% more engagements than those containing static image. And we know video works much better on stories than your feed as, content creators ourselves. So this is why content creators love to use stories, and even the Instagram algorithm loves stories too. So to point out, recently across our campaigns, we have seen circa 72% of our influencer brands brand affiliated Instagram content run across stories versus our influencer feed. Whereas in 2018, Clear, which is another influencer marketing platform, only saw 34% of all Instagram influencer activity across stories versus feed. Yet across the board, more users are actually posting activity in stories than in feed, which is 46% more. And this is according to Social Bakers. So this just confirms within our pool of content creators that many influencers prefer posting brand communications via Instagram stories, and we often find contractual obligations obviously reflect this also. So it's vital that brands track story data to report on all influencer activity or risk massively missing a trick regarding performance judgment. So caveat, there are only a handful of platforms out there, including ours, that obviously are able to track the day-to-day from influencers' stories, rather than us manually having to chase them down to provide us with their results from their latest stories, because obviously those results are not publicly visible and this can be a bit of a hassle. So now we'll go on to talk about how we monitor for performance tracking. So when using monitoring platforms such as ours, as per the screenshot here, you can see the basic quantitative metrics we can track. However, you also need to evaluate the quality of influencers' activity. Obviously, these are just the basic data sources that you would be pulling for the day-to-day checking that influencers are actually aligning to their obligations of numbers. So now to discuss qualitative monitoring. So when monitoring influencers' accounts, it is vital to understand what they are actually doing with your product. It is essential for you to hold influencers to account not only on contractual obligations, but on quality of content and aspects aligning with your brand and campaign messaging. So this is essential to further complement all other elements of your marketing campaign. So when assessing content, consider influencers' individual performance based on some of these sorts of points for review. Obviously, there's quite a few there, but the main ones to pull out is who is posting, who isn't, who is posting too much, how many feed posts do you have versus how many stories, or are other channels specified? Are they posting there, such as YouTube, Strava? How many actions, engagements, like comments, shares, have they had? These are just basic like metrics to just judge, but obviously it's okay for you to make the call on the content creators who are not pulling their weight, and obviously contact them and feedback. At Freestack, we do this on a daily basis, especially in the first few weeks of a campaign. So to understand how the people and who we've actually recruited are delivering and performing, it's best to obviously monitor this by using human judgment, and obviously do they align to the initial brief elements of your campaign setup and structure? And if not, then contact them. Obviously, this will help you in the long run when planning for your next campaign. Another thing to point out here is, is your influencer posting too much? Are they tagging loads of other brands? Are they overcomplicating the situation and convoluting it? It needs to be really contextually relevant, aligning with the brands and the structure that you have set up for your comms message. So let's talk about measuring the success of a campaign. So to further validate the cost of your influencer marketing campaign, from seeding products to ambassador payment incentives, you can turn the results of reach, impressions, and engagement into a monetary value to contextualize the performance and worth of your campaign. Depending on how your company is measuring marketing in general, you can use this similar metric for influencer marketing tools and cross-platform media channels additionally. So this will help you demonstrate the value of what you're actually doing with content creators. So what you take into account is typically the fee you pay for content creators, plus the cost of the product, plus their agency or platform fee. So for example, cost per engagement would be total cost divided by number of engagements. Cost per image would be calculated by total cost divided by number of images. Cost per acquisition would be similar. So these sorts of metrics allow for a more universal performance view across your wider marketing strategy, which I just mentioned. It also allows for a closer look at more of a value for money comparison on other media channels. So again, this will overall help plan for future campaigns by addressing the change in pattern you see here with how your performance varies when using different pools of content creators. So we have seen global brands use equivalents of earned media value as their main KPI or their main benchmark. So we'll go on to discuss that more in further detail. So measuring the success of your campaign using earned media value looks to assign a monetary value to every interaction taken by an audience on an influencer's social activity. For example, here we are aligning a dollar value to represent every action taken from an Instagram post or story by their audience. We overall calculate the total accumulated value of earned interactions. This means every like, share, retweet, quote, and comment is given a monetary value and added together to create a single represented worth to compare across other channels within a marketing campaign. Essentially, earned media value allows for one easily digestible figure to be comparable across the board. So the calculation and assigned values here is an example taken from a general cross-platform marketing strategy. To caveat, there doesn't seem to be any strict industry suggested rates or values to align with engagements. Yet this is just example is a fairly consistent formula across a general campaign that we've seen. So this formula allows social influencer marketing to hold ground versus other channels. The key takeaways here are that your formulas remain consistent amongst other influencer marketing campaigns in order to be fair, comparable metric for evaluation and future planning. This example content creator has 20 to 30,000 followers, and we have estimated their impressions, likes, comments, and story views. Interestingly, you can see the most value comes from the engagements, the likes, rather than impressions. So just to refer back to what we were saying on the influencer data comparison recruitment side, This supports the view that engagements are a better number to review than just reach. So here you can see one story and one feed post provides £1,450 dollars worth of earned media. However, this can be multiplied for a larger, higher frequency of activity to get an overall campaign result. So to summarize, if you can measure simply the results and performance rather than using workforce capacity to manually scroll through in a time-consuming way, you'll be able to see exactly how data and insights makes an impact on your campaign. Always create an objective to understand how your campaign will perform based on who you recruit beyond the vanity metrics of followers. Form KPIs so you can evaluate your campaign and optimize in real time. Review influencers' activity and don't be afraid to provide feedback and vocalize your expectations. Validate your influencer marketing campaign by associating monetary values to your KPIs and calculating financial benchmarks you want to achieve as an additional level of performance to help your business targets. And finally, actually review all your influencers' activity allows for a more concrete future-proof plan. Don't be afraid to feedback on them. Don't be afraid to obviously direct them in what your expectations are. So in terms of choosing influencers who have shown to deliver more above and beyond their potential reach, obviously this will help you for future campaign planning. So to conclude, how we can help. So we can help you manage your existing ambassador and content creator campaigns. We can help you recruit for your future influencer marketing campaigns, or we can help you develop KPIs and campaign objectives for reaching target customers in the most successful way by using our pool of content creators. We also obviously provide the platform and the tool to manage influencer campaigns, if that's self-service or full-service programs. And for a limited time, we are offering 50% off the first 3 months if you choose to come on board with our program after listening to one of our webinars. You only have to commit to 1 month. So if you do have any further questions, please email simon@freestack.com. Obviously, we have lots of other webinars on different topics, so please tune in to the content that we will be going into a deep dive about next. Okay, thank you very much.